My name is Alex, and I am a 28-year-old office worker. I work in a busy company where many people are always rushing. The office is filled with computers, phones, and busy employees. Every day, I sit at my desk and try to do my best work. I want to be a good employee and make my boss happy, but it's not always easy for me. I am a little shy, so talking to new people is hard for me. It takes a lot of courage for me to speak up in meetings. I worry about making mistakes or saying the wrong thing in front of my coworkers. In my free time, I like to read and draw. I enjoy creating stories and characters on paper. Drawing makes me feel calm. However, my hobby sometimes distracts me from my work. I often stay up late at night to draw instead of sleeping. This leads to tired days at the office and less focus on my work tasks. My friends tell me that I should share my art with others, but I am too scared. I do not want people to judge my drawings. This fear keeps me from showing my creativity to the world. Recently, I had a big problem at work. My manager asked me to present my ideas to our team. I felt my heart race when I heard the news. Talking in front of a group is not easy for me. Thinking about it made me anxious. I spent nights worrying about failure. What if I forgot my words? What if my ideas were not good enough? These questions kept running in my mind. I wanted to impress my boss and my coworkers. I instead felt disappointed in myself. I thought a lot about how I could manage this situation. I wanted to avoid making excuses, but my fear held me back. I decided to practice my presentation in front of my bathroom mirror. At first, my voice shook with fear, and my hands felt cold. I repeated my words again and again until they felt easier to say. With each try, I became more confident. This practice taught me about resilience. I learned to push through my fears. My mom always tells me that facing our fears makes us stronger. Remembering this made me keep going. I also started to talk to a coworker named Mia, who is friendly and welcoming. She gave me tips on how to speak clearly and connect with the audience. Mia shared her own stories about feeling anxious before her presentations. Her support gave me hope. I realized that many people face similar struggles. As the presentation day approached, I noticed a change in my thoughts. I felt nervous, but I also felt excited. I knew I had prepared as best as I could. I understood that failure is a part of learning and growth. I decided that no matter how the presentation went, I would learn something valuable. This made my feelings less scary. I was ready to step into the spotlight, even if it felt uncomfortable. I hoped that this experience would not only improve my workplace skills but also help me discover more about myself. Whatever happened, it would be a step toward my goals. I didn't just want to survive, I wanted to thrive and grow in my job and life. The days at work started to feel heavier. I first noticed it when my coworker, Sam, began to make comments about my work. Sam always seemed to have something to say. At first, he called my ideas childish in front of our team. I laughed it off, trying to think of it as a joke. But each day, those comments weighed me down more. He would smirk when I spoke in meetings. Each time, I felt smaller and smaller. I knew I had to focus on my presentation, but Sam was like a shadow, always watching. One afternoon, I approached my boss, Mr. Wallace, to ask for feedback on my project. I was hopeful he would say something nice. But when I arrived, I found Sam already there. Mr. Wallace looked at me and said, "Alex, do we need your input on this?" Sam is doing a great job. My heart sank. Sam smiled at me, a smile that almost felt like a jab. It reminded me of a competition I never wanted to be in, and I felt like I was losing. As weeks went by, Sam tried to undermine my confidence more. Once, he quickly changed the topic when I shared a good idea during a meeting. "That won't work, Alex. Let's focus on what really matters." My cheeks burned, and I felt embarrassed, staring down at my notes. I wanted to argue, but the words got stuck in my throat. How could I stand up to him? What if I made it worse? Every time I was pushed down, I lost a bit of my faith. I felt scared and alone. One day, while eating lunch at my desk, I overheard Sam talk to another coworker. "Alex thinks they can give a good presentation?" "Ha! That's a laugh. Everyone knows I have the better ideas." His laughter echoed in my mind. I looked at my salad, my stomach in knots. How did I get here? I started doubting everything I was, everything I believed. Was I really not good enough? As my coworkers shared lunch jokes, I felt even more isolated in my silence. Later that day, I found myself glued to my chair, unable to start my presentation work. I had so many negative thoughts. For each step forward, it felt like I took 2 steps back. I thought about the presentation coming up and how confident I was supposed to be, but with Sam always there, I began to fear that I would embarrass myself in front of everyone. The pressure felt like a heavy stone on my chest. Just then, Mia came by. She sat down across from me and asked gently, "Eric, what's wrong? You seem quiet." It felt good to talk to someone who cared. I told her about Sam and how worried I was about my presentation. She listened without judging me. "When people are mean, it says more about them than you," she said softly. "You can rise above this." Her kind words sparked something in me, and I felt a flicker of warmth. Maybe I could do more than just survive. Maybe I could teach Sam a lesson in kindness by standing up for myself. I knew things would not change overnight, but I also realized I had a choice. I could either let Sam's words keep me down, or I could choose to fight for my voice. It was time for me to find my strength, not just for the upcoming presentation but for my confidence and worth. I had made it this far, I couldn't give up now. I could feel a new determination rising within me, pushing me toward my goals like a gentle, supportive hand that said I was not alone. Each passing day at work became harder for me. The weight of Sam's words pressed down on my shoulders like a heavy backpack. I tried to shake off his comments, but they stuck to me, getting deeper and deeper. My confidence began to slip away. As I prepared for my upcoming presentation, I felt a pit in my stomach. Every time I practiced, I struggled to focus. Thoughts of failure crept into my mind. Could I really do this? One week, everything felt too much. I walked into the office and felt the eyes of my coworkers on me. I was used to the buzz of friendly chatter, but today it felt cold. I could see some of them whispering together, and it made my heart race. I told myself it was just my imagination, but deep down, I knew I could be feeling their doubts about me. It made me feel like I didn't belong there. I sat at my desk trying to concentrate, but the words on the screen blurred together. Stress washed over me like a storm. In the lunchroom, I felt the growing tension. I sat alone, stirring my soup while others grouped together, laughing and sharing stories. Sam sat with them, teasing me from across the room. "Look at Alex. Still trying to draw the world's best presentation," he said loudly, while the others chuckled. Their laughter felt like needles in my heart. I wanted to ignore them, but it hurt to hear these jokes. I began to question if I'd ever fit in at work. The fear of being judged kept me small and invisible. I considered what it would be like to quit my job. Maybe if I left, I wouldn't have to face Sam again. But then, I thought about my dreams. I wanted to grow in my career and make my family proud. Would running away solve anything? Or would it just make me give up on my goals? I felt stuck between 2 choices, to stay silent or to stand up for myself. Each choice felt daunting and filled with fear. That evening, I stared at the ceiling in my bedroom, wrapped up in my thoughts. I felt so lonely and isolated. I began to doubt my abilities. Maybe Sam was right. Maybe my ideas were silly and unwanted. What if I did fail? Questions spun in my mind like a whirlwind. I wanted to build confidence, but it was being swept away so easily. I closed my eyes, wishing things could be different. Yet, I remembered Mia's words. "You can rise above this," she said. Maybe I could find a voice after all. I needed to dig deeper and find my strength. If I could just believe in myself, I might start to see a way through. With that thought, a small spark glimmered in my heart. I reached for that spark, holding on tightly. Hope was hard to find, but it was there, glowing quietly inside me, waiting to come out. As my eyes drifted to sleep, I made a promise to myself. I would not be defined by Sam's mean words. I would try my best to prepare for my presentation. I would let my excitement for my ideas outweigh my fears. I wanted to be proud of myself. Tomorrow would be a new day, a chance to take a step forward, and I was ready to fight for my place. My journey was far from over, and I realized that I had the power to change my story. The day of my presentation arrived, and I felt a mix of nerves and hope. It was a moment I had prepared for. I practiced in front of my mirror, rehearsing my words and smiles. But as I walked into that meeting room, something felt different. The buzz of chatter faded, and I felt the eyes of my coworkers on me. My heart raced in a way that made me feel sick. Even my hands shook slightly as I held my notes. Just as I was about to start, Sam leaned back in his chair and smirked. "Let's see if Alex can actually impress us," he whispered loud enough for others to hear. A wave of anxiety crashed over me. Feelings of doubt and helplessness swelled inside my chest. I almost wanted to run away, but I took a deep breath, determined not to show my fear. I began my presentation, and the words came out slowly. I could see frayed looks from my coworkers, some nodding, but others appeared to be distracted. I worked hard to push through my nerves. Each point I made leaned on the hope that Sam would finally respect my ideas. But no matter how hard I tried, Sam continued to make snarky comments from the back. "Is that all you have, Alex?" he said, laughing under his breath. That laughter echoed loudly in my mind and made it hard to focus. Suddenly, my computer froze, and my slides vanished from the screen. Panic wrapped around me. I stared at the blank screen, my heart racing faster. "Come on," I whispered to myself, feeling tears brimming in my eyes. Those kinds of setbacks had always made me feel small and incapable. Lines of doubt flooded my thoughts. Before, I felt prepared and confident, but now it all felt like a circus. Sam stood up and said, "Looks like Alex isn't ready for this after all." His words felt heavy. They cut deeper than I thought possible. All the hard work I put in collided with his sharp words. I wanted to shout, to defend myself, but my voice seemed lost. Instead, I fumbled through my notes, desperately looking for a way to get back on track. I could hear some whispers in the room. My face burned with embarrassment. I wished the ground would swallow me whole. Then I had a moment of clarity. All at once, I realized I couldn't let Sam take my light. The disappointment Ethan tried to bring crumbled away to reveal a new determination. I needed to take action. I felt anger bubbling in my chest, mixed with the fear of failure. But instead of sinking further, I felt the urge to rise. In that instant, I looked directly at Sam and said, "You may find my ideas funny, but they are mine. I worked hard on this presentation, and I believe in it." My voice trembled, yet it carried strength I didn't even know I had. The room went silent. I could have looked away, but I stayed strong. I held Sam's eye, refusing to feel small anymore. The moment felt electric, charging through the air like a fire. I realized that I had faced my fear, and in doing so, I broke free of the weight I had carried for so long. The decision was pivotal. It was now about more than just the presentation. It became about reclaiming my voice. I stood tall, ready to share my ideas. No matter the final outcome of this day, I had chosen to fight back. In this moment, things had to change. For the first time, I felt like I was gaining control, and hope lit up inside me again. As I stood strong, I saw surprised faces in the room. I pulled myself together, feeling the adrenaline rush through me. In that moment, I believed I could overcome anything. But as soon as my words left my mouth, everything shifted. Mr. Wallace, my boss, frowned deeply. He stood up slowly, his eyes narrowing as he spoke. "Alex, this is not how we behave in meetings. We keep things respectful here." My heart sank at his words. It felt like a heavy stone dropping into my stomach. I wanted to scream, but instead, I felt small again. The confidence I just found was slipping away, fast. "I didn't mean to disrespect anyone," I managed to say, my voice shaky. But Mr. Wallace was not listening. The room turned stiff, and I could see Sam with a victorious smile. He looked pleased, as if he had just won a game. My good idea turned into a bizarre mess. After Mr. Wallace spoke, he told me to take a seat. "This is not how we handle situations, Alex. Consider this a learning moment." My face felt hot. I felt so embarrassed, I could not look anyone in the eyes. The laughter I feared once again replaced my confidence, echoing through my mind. I sat in silence, staring at my hands and wishing for the day to drift away. I regretted speaking out. Maybe I should have stayed silent. But then, there was still a part of me telling me that what I said was true. As the meeting went on, I couldn't focus. I wanted to vanish. Thoughts raced through my mind, drowning me in waves of anxiety. Did I ruin my chance to shine? Would I be seen as the disrespectful one now? I looked around, seeing my coworkers exchanging uneasy looks. It hurt. I felt more isolated than ever, and a knot grew in my chest. Maybe Sam was right all along. I started to doubt who I was and what I had to offer. Was this really meant for someone like me? When the meeting ended, I quickly packed my things. I didn't want to stay and face anyone. The doors felt like they were getting heavier as I made my way outside. With each step away from the meeting room, I felt a wave of relief, but it mingled with bitter sadness. My thoughts turned dark. Maybe I was not meant for this kind of job. Maybe I was not good enough to succeed after all. I made my way to the parking lot, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. Everything felt overwhelming, my head throbbed with negativity. I wrestled with feelings of guilt and regret for speaking out. Did I make my life much worse? Running away from feelings seemed tempting. I thought maybe quitting was the answer. It would save me from the pressure, from this constant fear. But as I sat in my car alone, I took a deep breath. I understood this was a low moment. The doubt clouded my mind, but I knew I could not escape. I wanted to hide, but I also wanted to fight back. What I had shared felt real and important to me. I didn't want to be a coward anymore. I wanted to face my fears, even if it felt overwhelming right now. I didn't have all the answers, but something inside me whispered that maybe this was just a bump in my journey. I could recover from this, rebuild my momentum. I would not stay lost for long, my story had just begun. Sitting in my car, my hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. The words of my boss and the laughter of my coworkers echoed through my head. Tears filled my eyes, and I tried to push them away. I felt lost and confused, drowning in a sea of self-doubt. But as I took a few deep breaths, a memory popped into my mind, Mia's support and our conversations after the meeting. She always reminded me of my strengths and how far I had come. I thought about the times I felt proud of my work. I remembered presenting my ideas to friends who encouraged me. Those moments of happiness felt distant now. I realized I didn't want the fear and shame to control my life. I wanted to believe that I could overcome this. The thought started to shift something deep inside me. What if I focused on what I could control instead of letting Sam's words shape who I am? In that moment of reflection, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Mia, checking in on me. "Hey, are you okay? We all have bad days. Don't let Sam get to you." Reading her words filled me with warmth. It reminded me that I was not alone in this fight. Friends are important, especially during hard times. Her message was the spark I needed. It reminded me that I have people who care about me and believe in me. I took a moment to think about my main goal. I needed to prepare for my presentation, even if I didn't feel perfect. It was not just about impressing my coworkers, it was a chance to share my passion and ideas. I needed to find my fire again. Suddenly, everything began to feel lighter. I could not let one bad moment define me forever. What mattered was how I moved forward. With renewed energy, I opened my laptop and reread my presentation notes. Every idea I wrote down mattered to me. They represented my creativity and hard work. I took a deep breath and smiled at the thought that these ideas were part of who I am. I thought back to why I loved drawing and storytelling in the first place. They brought joy not only to me but also to others. After staring at my outlines for a few minutes, I started to type notes for my presentation freshly. Something inside me shifted. I felt a resolve rising back from the depths of my anxiety. I began to practice my speech out loud, imagining myself standing with confidence in front of my teammates. This time, I would include stories from my own life, personal touches that showcased my voice. I realized that it was more than just presenting ideas, it was about sharing a part of myself. I understood that I can't change others' actions, but I can control my responses. Failure is a chance to grow, and negativity does not define me. I wasn't going to run away, I was going to face this challenge head-on. In moving forward, I felt more like the person I wanted to be, someone who learns from struggles and rises back stronger. I decided to reach out to Mia and ask for her help in practicing my presentation. I wanted her encouragement as I journeyed through this challenge. With every word I typed and every idea I prepared, the spark grew into a flame. I was ready to reclaim my story. I realized that the struggle won't stop, but neither would I. Tonight, I took the first step away from despair and walked toward my dreams. Hope began to fill my heart, reminding me that I could shine, no matter the darkness that had come before. Falling action. The day of the presentation arrived, and I felt the energy buzzing in the room. I took one last moment to breathe deeply, focusing on the people I could count on. Mia sat in the audience, giving me a reassuring smile as I approached the front. With every step, I felt the determination growing within me. I was ready to share my ideas and show my worth. As I began my presentation, I could feel the nerves still fluttering in my stomach. But I held on to the confidence I gained since that day in my car. I remembered talking to Mia and how her words empowered me. "You deserve to be here," whispered in my heart, fueling my voice. I spoke about my ideas with passion, sharing stories from my life that connected to my points. The atmosphere felt supportive, and every smile from my co-workers lifted me higher. Once I finished speaking, I opened the floor for questions. It was a nerve-wracking moment, but the response surprised me. Instead of facing harsh critiques or mocking laughter, my co-workers engaged positively. They asked thoughtful questions and seemed genuinely interested in my perspective. I felt a ripple of hope pushing through my worry. Each question turned into support, and I started smiling more freely. In that shining moment, I realized I wasn't just gaining respect, I was being heard and valued for my voice. After the meeting, Mr. Wallace approached me. He looked serious at first, and my heart dropped. "Alex, I want to talk about what happened last week," he began. I braced myself for another reprimand, but instead, he smiled. "I appreciate your honesty and passion. I can see you have great ideas, and I want to help you develop them further." Hearing those words struck me as triumph. I felt relief wash over me, and warmth filled my chest. This was not the reaction I feared. Mia joined me, and we celebrated briefly over coffee. "You did great. I knew you had it in you," she said, beaming. It felt liberating to share that moment with someone who believed in me. I exchanged ideas with Mia about how to improve even further, and we laughed over our favorite strategies. It felt refreshing to know I had friends to share both triumphs and struggles with. The past struggles felt less heavy now. As the days went on, I noticed a change within myself. My confidence grew week by week. I took each opportunity to speak up in meetings and share my views. The fear that once held me back began to lessen. Each time I faced my anxiety, it got a little easier. I slowly established relationships with other co-workers, building connections through shared goals. People opened up to me, and I saw their creative ideas in a new light. One day, while reflecting at lunch with Mia, I discovered that I had grown spiritually. I shared my insight. Challenges can teach us things, can't they? I said. They show how strong we can be. I felt proud that I had turned my struggles into lessons about myself. The tough times allowed me to understand my emotions better and take control of my progress. In my heart, I knew the past was a part of me, but it didn't have the power to shape my future. Each day was an opportunity for growth, and I was excited to see where my journey would lead. I learned that I was not defined by my challenges but by how I chose to rise above them. Holding on to hope felt powerful, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. As the weeks passed after my presentation, I found myself feeling stronger and more confident. I realized that I needed to draw clear lines for myself in the workplace. Sam's behavior had bothered me for too long, and I no longer wanted to let it slide. One afternoon, as I was reviewing my work, I overheard him belittling another colleague in the break room. My heart raced as I listened to his harsh words. I saw the way the other person shrank under his ridicule. It was time for me to act. I took a deep breath and decided to confront Sam. It was a small step, but it felt big for me. I walked into the break room with purpose, my heart racing a little. "Sam, that wasn't nice," I said, trying to stay calm. He turned and looked at me, surprised for a moment. Then his brow furrowed in irritation. "You think you can talk to me like that?" he shot back, his tone sharp. For a moment, I felt that familiar fear creep in, but I held my ground. "Yes, I do. We should be kind to each other here." There was a pause, and to my surprise, some co-workers who were nearby began to nod in agreement. "That's right," one of them said. "We should support each other. We work better as a team." Sam's expression hardened, but he backed off, realizing he was losing this confrontation. The atmosphere in the room shifted as I stood firm. I saw the support of my colleagues and felt a warm rush of empowerment. My voice mattered, and so did theirs. The next day, I felt ready to go further. I walked into Mr. Wallace's office and asked if we could discuss workplace behavior and support. I explained how Sam's words affected not only me but others as well. "I want to help create a better environment for everyone," I stated boldly. Mr. Wallace listened carefully, nodding as I spoke. "You're right, Alex," he replied. "I appreciate you coming to me. I will talk to Sam and remind him how we must treat each other with respect." My heart lifted a little at his response. It felt good to take action rather than just hope for change. Soon, I saw how my firm attitude began to affect others. Colleagues started opening up, sharing their experiences of feeling bullied or undermined at work. They felt encouraged to speak about their problems as I laid the groundwork. Our bond grew stronger as we supported one another. I could sense that the workplace was beginning to change. People smiled more, and the talks turned positive. However, not everyone was pleased. I could see that Sam withdrew from conversations and became grumpy, almost resentful of the shift in our atmosphere. I felt the weight of his anger like a storm cloud hovering nearby. At first, I worried if I had done the right thing, but I reminded myself that I had also done it for my own well-being and that of my coworkers. I took these concerns to heart but refused to let them control me. I decided to stay focused on positivity. I shared ideas with my team during meetings and encouraged everyone to join in discussions. The more I invited their opinions, the more I felt my own voice strengthen. I learned not to hide my thoughts but to imagine each contribution was a building block toward a more open space. As time passed, I felt empowered, realizing that setting boundaries brought a powerful sense of freedom. I now knew I could change my environment by standing up for myself and advocating for others. Each person in the office had a voice worthy of being heard. Through these challenges, I had not only grown but had helped others grow as well. I was no longer just surviving but instead thriving in a place that now felt more supportive and safe. The future felt bright and full of possibility. The changes at work continued to grow, and I felt a sense of belonging bloom in my heart. It was a bright Tuesday morning when I received an email from Mr. Wallace. He invited everyone in our team to share new ideas for the upcoming project. As I read the message, excitement rushed through me. This was my chance to contribute meaningfully. I spent the night drafting my ideas, pouring my heart into my work. I knew that I had a voice and it was valuable. I submitted my suggestions early, feeling a sense of pride. Then the following day, as I walked to my desk, I spotted Sarah, a coworker I respected. She walked over with a bright smile. "I loved your ideas, Alex. I'm going to include some in my part of the project," she said happily. Hearing Sarah's words filled me with warmth. It was a small moment, but it meant everything. I felt validated as my hard work became part of someone else's project. I realized that I was genuinely starting to make connections with my coworkers. I felt proud of the supportive environment we built together. We were beginning to thrive as a team, standing by each other like a strong wall. A few weeks later, another opportunity came my way. Mr. Wallace called for a team meeting to discuss our project goals. As the meeting began, I felt butterflies in my stomach, but this time they weren't from fear, they were from excitement. Mr. Wallace asked for our ideas and strategies, allowing everyone to speak openly. I could see other coworkers, including Sam, staying quiet. It seemed that after my earlier stand, he was more withdrawn. When my turn came, I took a deep breath and shared my thoughts with enthusiasm. I spoke about all the positive changes we could implement. "I believe these methods will create a better flow for our projects," I explained. I felt every word as I spoke, inspiring encouragement from others. "We can work together in this way to achieve better results." My fellow team members nodded, and soon after my words, another person jumped in, which felt like a wave of energy. They built on what I said and began tossing around new ideas that made the discussion even richer. Each voice felt strong and respected, and together we built on one another's ideas. After the meeting ended, I felt a sense of joy wash over me. I had made a difference. Not only did I find my footing within the team, but I also saw others beginning to shine. The support we built gave everyone confidence, and it felt contagious. Later that week, I ran into Mia on my way to lunch. She looked happy and said, "It's amazing how far we have come. I see everyone's spirits lifting." It was true, we were changing the dynamic. It felt refreshing to be part of something good. In that moment, I recognized how important it was to sustain this new sense of community. As I continued to embrace these small wins, I realized how pivotal supportive relationships are. It was about taking that first step to set boundaries and about not losing my voice against negativity. My journey taught me that it takes only one act of courage to spark change for myself and those around me. I learned the importance of encouraging others, speaking out, and sharing our thoughts. The culture in our workplace started to shift toward kindness, where everyone's voice mattered. It was a process of transformation, and we were writing a new story together. Now, I felt empowered, ready to embrace whatever came next. This was my moment to walk into a future full of possibilities, and I was determined to keep pushing forward. Resolution. As the months passed, I felt a noticeable change within myself and my workplace. Our team had grown stronger, and I no longer felt isolated. I had the courage to share my ideas, and they were welcomed with appreciation. Each positive conversation built my confidence, but I still felt a nagging question in my mind. Was this the environment I truly wanted for my future? One rainy afternoon, I took some time to reflect. I sat in my favorite coffee shop with my notebook. The warm aroma of fresh coffee surrounded me, reminding me of the importance of taking time for myself. I considered my career goals and where I wanted to go. I thought back to the fear I once carried and what it felt like to overcome it. I realized I now had the strength to steer my own path, and this was enlightening. I decided I needed to be bold and more intentional about my choices. I wanted to maximize my passion for design and creativity in my work. I called Mia and shared my thoughts. "I love our team, but I need to consider what truly makes me happy," I admitted. She smiled and supported my idea. That's so important. Your happiness matters, Alex. Do what lights you up. Her trust in me fueled my determination to act. After some deep self-reflection, I came to a significant conclusion. I needed to speak directly with Mr. Wallace about my career path. I wanted clarity on what opportunities lay ahead. I understood that by confronting this question, I could finally take control of my career, whatever that entailed. When I met with Mr. Wallace, I communicated openly. I wanted to talk about my growth here and where I fit into our plans for the future, I said confidently. He listened intently as I expressed my desire to advance and explore creative projects that excited me. He appreciated my initiative and promised to consider how I could contribute more meaningfully. The meeting felt empowering. For the first time in a long while, I found my voice in my future. Over the next few weeks, I started taking small steps toward my career goals. I enrolled in online courses to further my skills in design and presentation. I engaged more deeply with my colleagues, sharing ideas, and collaborating on projects that inspired us. The atmosphere felt electric with newfound purpose. It filled me with motivation. As I continued to grow, some small setbacks arose, but I approached each one with resilience. My mindset transformed. I learned to treat failures as opportunities. When Sam attempted to undermine my recent projects again, instead of feeling disheartened, I chose to respond with strength. Holding each other back creates a toxic environment, I told him. I discovered I was no longer afraid. Standing tall, I realized I could create the workplace I desired, a place filled with kindness and encouragement. In time, I came to understand what truly mattered in my career: growth, collaboration, and respect. My relationships with coworkers became deeper as we navigated challenges together. I felt a strong sense of community, and it drove me forward. This is how I transformed my life and my work. I learned that even in difficult circumstances, I could make bold, empowering decisions. I had regained control over my path, and my goals shone brightly ahead. With every leap, I encouraged those around me to find their voices too. This is my story, and each day became an opportunity to grow together. My journey continues, and I embrace every moment with hope and confidence. I've learned that believing in myself and uplifting others transforms everything. As I sat in my office chair, thinking about everything I had achieved, I felt proud of how far I had come. I discovered that challenges no longer frightened me, they motivated me to grow even more. Since speaking up and taking control of my career, I had formed strong connections with my coworkers. Each day, we encouragingly supported each other, creating a joyful work environment. I realized that together we could overcome anything. Through my efforts, the team began to flourish. Projects that once felt overwhelming became exciting opportunities for collaboration. We shared ideas openly during our meetings, allowing everyone to contribute. And in these moments of teamwork, I felt my self-confidence grow even more. Feedback from my boss was positive, and he started recognizing my contributions. It was inspiring to see how one act of courage led to a ripple effect of change, but I knew my journey wasn't complete. I had visions for my future, and now was the time to embrace them fully. Eventually, I decided to combine my love for design with my passion for leadership. I wanted to explore a manager role, guiding others while also nurturing their talents. I approached Mr. Wallace one more time, discussing my future aspirations. I want to refine the skills I've gained and become a leader within our team. His eyes lit up with excitement as he expressed his support for my growth. In the following weeks, I worked hard to achieve this new goal. I sought out opportunities for training in leadership and project management. There were workshops and resources available from our company, and I made sure to take full advantage. Learning from mentors who inspired me proved invaluable. They shared their journeys of growing in their roles, helping to shape my path ahead. During this time, something unexpected happened. Sam, who had once been my source of discomfort, also began to change. He reached out to me during a project meeting to share his ideas. Initially hesitant, I chose to listen openly. "I appreciate your input," I said. Let's find a way to work together." His expression softened, and I could see he was surprised by my response. This simple act transformed our dynamic. We focused on cooperation rather than competition. As the seasons changed, I began applying for leadership positions both within and outside of my company. I knew I had grown ready for the next chapter of my career, and these experiences pushed me forward. I embraced these challenges head-on, feeling empowered by my journey. Each application and interview was a chance to showcase what I had learned. Finally, I received an offer for a management position at a new company. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was a big leap, but it was what I had always wanted. Embracing this fresh start symbolized not just my professional growth but also the courage I gained to advocate for myself. Standing at my window one bright morning, I reflected on everything that had changed. I remembered my struggles and how they had helped me grow. I realized life's challenges often lead to beautiful transformations. I felt grateful for the support of friends and colleagues who walked this journey with me. Each step reminded me that progress is possible as long as you believe in yourself. With hope in my heart, I stepped into the future. Embracing new challenges became an exciting part of my life story. I learned that obstacles are just opportunities waiting to be turned into victories. My journey was far from over, but I felt ready for whatever came next. The world was full of possibility, and I was eager to explore every new horizon with confidence, courage, and an open heart.